What's going on, guys and girls? Static here, and welcome back to my playground, Black Aperture. I know it might not look like it on the surface, but I have made quite a bit of progress on the world since the last time you guys were here. First and foremost, I finally found a stable build of MCEdit. A lot of you were posting in the comments that there was actually a stable build of MCEdit out there and that I didn't have to wait for one. The issue was that I was looking on the original forum topic for the new stable build of MCEdit, not realizing at the time that the creator of MCEdit had given up on the project. Apparently he wasn't earning enough money from it and couldn't keep the project going. And yeah, so when I figured that out, I went looking for the new updated version and found it elsewhere. So got MCEdit working and managed to expand the cobblestone cube, which is why you can see that the glass square that was around these glowstone blocks is gone, because I no longer need that frame of reference. Not entirely sure now how large the cobblestone cube is. I haven't really been bothered to count, but suffice to say it's much larger than it was, and that will basically mean that in our slime spawning lab when we finally build it, and in our hostile mob spawning lab, we'll have 100% efficiency. So there will be nowhere else on this map for mobs to spawn when we're in those spawning labs. Now, the one issue with MCEdit, or using MCEdit to edit the top of this facility, is that MCEdit currently does not support the upside down half slabs. And if you recall from the previous episode, that was something that I wanted to add to the world. I wanted to replace the normal half slabs with upside down half slabs so that I could build directly on top of the ground without having to have that half a block of air below all the builds. So what that means is that I had to go and do something that I've been trying to hold off from doing for a while, and that's to install single player commands. So yep, I currently have single player commands installed, but I don't really plan on using it for anything unless I absolutely have to, simply because I do like the hands-on feel of doing things in my world. So for example, when we do spawn point, I do manually place all of the blocks on those pads, as I said, simply because I do like the hands-on feel of the game. Even though I am in creative. I know it might be a little bit strange, but that's me for you. So yeah, I installed single player commands, and so we now have an upside down half slab layer on top of the facility. There's a couple of divots around, and the reason for that is that I was recently experimenting with one of the new snapshots, not the most recent one, but the one where minecarts and boats are now able to be dispensed from dispensers as the minecart or boat instead of as the little item, which is basically what you can see here. I was messing around with designs for a monorail, and I should probably quickly put back that powered rail before I forget. Bear with me for a moment here, guys. Just gotta... There we go. Okay, and so I'm sure you guys are familiar with basically what this is. This is, you'd have a bunch of minecarts in the dispenser, you'd dispense them onto the track, hit the button, and that would power the minecarts, push them forward. And because there was several minecarts in the one area, they sort of bump each other along, and you end up traveling along just a surface without tracks. And so I came up with this little monorail design, very simple, but I like it. It's quite sleek. And my idea for it was to, when we get some walls around the facility, to have a monorail track running around the facility as like a little bit of a, kind of like a guided tour. I mean, the monorail is quite slow. I think it's actually faster to walk, or same speed to walk as it is to ride around in the monorail. But it is quite a cool little mode of transport. So yeah, I think I will get this working at some stage. The only issue with this design of the monorail is that the carts will travel in a straight line, no problems, but once they hit a corner, which is what I was experimenting with here, they become very unstable. When it goes around this corner, all of a sudden the carts will want to go diagonally, which is why I've put these iron blocks here. And so even with these blocks either side trying to stabilize the minecart, the moment the minecart clears the blocks, it starts going diagonally. So unfortunately, I'm not sure I'll be able to get the monorail to go around corners unless I do something sort of like this. oops, these glass panes are a bit of a pain to work with, but yeah, so something like that I think should keep the so like that on either side of the track the whole way should keep the minecart or minecarts going straight, but I'm not really sure I like the look of that. That doesn't look quite as sleek as just the single monorail line. So the other alternative, if I do plan to use these monorails, is to simply have a station in all four corners of the world, and just to have the minecarts go straight along, and then you dock, get off, go the other way. So if anyone has a different fix for stabilizing these minecarts when they go around the corner, please do let me know in the comments down below, and I'll see what I can do. Unfortunately, I can't give you a little demonstration of the monorail, simply because I'm currently not in the snapshot. You'll see I'm just in Minecraft 1.2.5, and I'll get to the reason for that in a moment. Now back to what I was saying about MC-Edit. As well as expanding the cobblestone, sorry, I keep saying cobblestone, as well as expanding the stone brick cube, I also added this little gap here, which goes all the way from the surface right down to, that's kind of weird, it's cool, you can see the sky through there. Yeah, it goes all the way from the surface down to the void, and then has this iron block wall. And the point of this is, as I mentioned, I was trying to make this the stone brick cube 100% spawn friendly inside those pads, meaning that the only place where mobs could spawn would be in our spawning labs. And so one way that I was making sure of this was, dig down into the cube and use the old transparent brick trick, and you can see under the world, I don't know why, but there is a bunch of lava pockets and this water pocket down here. It's really strange. When I first started this world, I used MC-Edit to make the stone brick cube, and basically I selected from that corner down to the bottom end over there and turned it all to stone brick. And so that should have replaced all these water pockets and lava pockets with the stone brick. However, I've noticed that, yeah, there's those little pockets around the place, not very often, but on the odd occasion, and it's really weird when you go into those little pockets. Instead of having stone, dirt, all that kind of jazz in there, it actually is stone brick, but then there's a whole heap of air and water as well. And I'm pretty sure the world was not like that until relatively recently, so I'm not sure if it's something to do with Minecraft updating the world to Anvil, but yeah, I'm going to need to fix that at some point. So the point of this iron block wall with the gap is that when I was trying to locate all the caves and stuff underneath the surface to fill them in, I was also seeing caves out underneath the desert and over that way, and it was kind of hard to tell the difference between caves that I did need to go and take care of and caves that I didn't. And so I've put in this little border so that for those of you who don't know how the transparent brick trick works, is that when you place it down, you'll see all the way through like solid layers until you get to a gap, and then you'll be able to see the next gap. So I needed to leave this gap between the iron block wall, otherwise I'd see straight through the iron blocks and into the caves again. So that's what the go is there. So quite happy with that little addition. I know it's only a minor thing, but it's going to make life a lot easier for me. Now, other than that, I haven't really done a whole lot of work on the elevator. I've done a little bit, and I'll show you that in a moment. The reason I haven't really paid the elevator too much attention is because, to be honest, it's been giving me a bit of a headache. Things aren't working the way that they're supposed to. For example, the RS null latch arrays, for some reason, sometimes when you push the button, it'll pulse the indicator light, but the null latch won't set, and that's regardless of how much extra delay I put on the repeaters or how many extra repeaters I put in. Sometimes it just seems to not want to work. And the weird thing is that even if, say, for example, this slice of the RS null latch and this one are exactly the same, sometimes this one will work and this one won't, even though, as I've said, they're identical basically. So I don't know what the go is. I think it might have something to do with, I've heard some rumors that if you get too much redstone in the one area, it starts acting kind of funky. It's a little bit of a bug. Hopefully that gets fixed soon. Until then, I'm just going to have to keep messing with this thing and getting it into working order as best I can. But the one addition I have made to the elevator so far is as you can see, I've got a bit of a torch tower going up here. And what this is allowing the RS null latch arrays to communicate between each other. At the moment, it's only for going up. I don't have the downward communication at the moment. So, for example, if we wanted to select this floor from all the way down at the bottom, that would work now. But if we wanted to select the bottom from all the way up here, the RS null latch array down the bottom does not know yet that it's been selected. So I'll be trying to add in the downward communication between now and the next episode, but for now I've left it at just the upward communication, because this thing alone, even though it looks extremely simple, it did take an absolute ton of tinkering. And as you can see, I've gone for a completely different design up the top here. If you remember from the previous episode, I had a bunch of pistons up the top with some lapis blocks, and basically when the RS null latch got powered, the piston would retract, and that would stop sending power along this way, and I was going to use that to trigger the torch towers, but that ended up becoming far too complicated, and because of all the different pistons and stuff that were going every time you clicked this one button, there was quite a bit of lag going, so I wanted to try and minimize that, and went for the old, keep it simple, stupid method, and so I've opted for these torches on the front of this block here, which is good. This block was already here. This was to carry current from the RS null latch up to the display, and so I've just taken some current off the back here, and yeah, it's quite a nice little solution. As you see, because I can take power on the block down here and a block up here, there's no crosstalk between the wires. I don't need to put some sort of solid block over the top to cut off any crosstalk, which is very nice. It means that the wiring is a lot easier to see, which will make fixes in the future a lot more simple. And so the basic way that this torch tower works, I know it might look a little bit complicated when we get into areas like this, but it's actually very simple. Actually, I want to really quickly reset this so we don't have anything selected, so you can see what's going on. So basically at every single RS null latch array, the signal from the selector comes into a torch here. And so the torch has to be in the on state so that we'll be able to turn it off when we select a level. And the line coming into the torch and from the bottom of the torch must also both be off. And the reason for this, and I should actually really quickly just add a repeater there, I've only just realized that. The reason for this is that because the torch here is on and it's not receiving power from below or in the side, we can alter the state of this torch either from this level or from below. And so that's very important. I know it sounds like a little bit of a no-brainer, but trust me, when working with this much redstone, it was quite a pain to arrive at this conclusion. But that being said, the elevator does, for the most part, work in the up direction. Why is that not? That's why that's not resetting. There are a couple of kinks I need to work out in a moment, though, which I'll explain soon. But I'll give you a quick demonstration of where the elevator's at the moment. So, for example, if we're on the bottom floor here, we can select our level. So, actually, I need to reset this as well. This is one of those issues that I'm going to tell you about in a moment. In the finished design, obviously, I'm not going to have to come back here and reset the null latch arrays, but I'll just quickly double check, make sure those are all off. Which, yeah, this is a little bit of a pain, I know, but this is something that I'll hopefully be rectifying between now and the next episode. Okay, so now that all those null latches are off, we should have no problems. So, what happens is you'd come down here and you'd select your floor. So at the moment, we're on level 1. Say we want to go up to level 2, so you select your floor, And at the moment I've just got a jerry-rigged elevator call button. In the finished design, as on level 4 I believe it is, the call button will be directly across from the level select. So you'll hit your level, hit the call button, which we'll do over here. And so that very simply calls the elevator. So we've got our elevator here, and you just go in, and you see it takes us up to level 2. So exit the elevator, and it goes on its merry way. So now we're on level 2, and just for example purposes, we'll travel to level 4. Although I'm pretty sure I need to replace the doors on level 3. Yeah, because I was testing things out, and I need to have the doors closed just so that I go past the levels. So I'll just close that up for now. So we've selected level 4, which is our ground floor. And again, come over to this jerry-rigged elevator call button. Again, that will be on the other side. And so there we go, our elevator gets called to this level, and all we need to do is go in, past level 3, and stops on level 4. So, as you can see, it works pretty well at the moment. So vertical level select does work. The issue though, which I've just noticed since just before filming this episode, is that unfortunately when we select, or when we go into the elevator, what the signal should do is reset the RS NOR latch. But the problem is that it's kind of hard to explain, but so this line here is from the pressure plates that trigger the elevator to go up when we go into the elevator, and so okay, so let me try and explain this. It's very complicated. I know I haven't given you guys a really good rundown on how the elevator works. I might do that in a future episode if people are interested. But basically what happens is when we select a floor on, like say if we select level 6, you'll see that any floor that we select powers the reset line of the RS NOR latch. And basically what that does is, this is what I was showing you before, that the level selector sometimes blinks on and then turns off. Yeah, unfortunately it's a little bit of a pain, but I'll try and get that working. But as I was saying, when you select a level, the reason that this torch turns off is because no matter which level you select, it powers the reset line of the NOR latch. And so I decided that because the elevator needs to know what level we're on, I'd take the current out of the reset line and use that to power this RS NOR latch here. Whoops. And this RS NOR latch is basically telling the elevator that this is the level that we want, that we're currently on. So when we hit that reset line, the elevator knows that we're on this level. Then when we take the elevator, we don't want the elevator to still think we're on this level. So those pressure plates there, the way they work is they send current down here, which triggers the other side of this RS NOR latch, which tells the elevator that we no longer want to be on this floor. So it returns the level breakers and the elevator continues on its merry way. Now the problem here is that the redstone line that resets this NOR latch doesn't currently reset our selection array. So what I'm going to have to do is make it so that the current from these pressure plates first powers the reset line, which will reset all of the selections on the RS NOR latch array, and then powers the bottom half of this latch. So hopefully that makes sense. I know it's a little bit confusing at the moment. The problem with this elevator is you kind of need to know how it works to understand how it works, which is probably why I won't end up doing a tutorial on this elevator, but hopefully that makes sense. That's an issue that I hope to have fixed by the next episode, and then that way, I don't know if I've told you guys the issue with that. So at the moment, the elevator is basically saying that I think it's level 4 is selected. So if we select level 2 here, and oops, I'll just select that and hit the call button. Now I'm hoping this will show you the issue, but I could be wrong. Actually, we'll do it the other way. We'll select level 4. and call button. Yeah, you see, we selected level 4, but because level 2 wasn't deselected from before, instead of going to level 4, we go to level 2, unless we go through and manually reset all those RS null latches. So obviously that's quite a big issue with the elevator, and so yeah, hopefully I'll have that finished by next episode. Now, in case you're wondering what this little circuit here is, basically I wanted a way of when the torch tower here gets updated, so say we were selecting this level here, we don't want the... what happens is when we select this level, it powers the reset line over here, but we don't want that to be constantly powered for reasons I won't get into. So what I've done is I've come up with this little pulse generator circuit, I guess you'd call it. So you hit the lever, nothing happens, but when this torch gets power, you see that torch blinks for a moment. So basically what that means is that whenever this torch gets powered, it sends a blink up the torch tower here and powers the reset line for a brief moment. So yeah, a little bit confusing again. Hopefully that makes sense. Yeah. Now, the other functions that I need to add into the elevator at the moment, which currently aren't there, are, as I've mentioned, the downward communication between the null latch arrays. I also need to get the doors working so that when you call the elevator to your floor, the doors will open and the chimes will sound. And then when you go to the next level, the doors should open and the chimes should sound once you get there. So that's basically all I really need to do with this elevator before it's finished, is the downward function, the doors, and the chimes. And the chimes are basically hooked into the doors as well, although I've noticed that the way that I'm powering the doors at the moment unfortunately won't work. And if you're wondering why, to close the doors, I'd need to power this block here to turn off this torch and turn off the power to this block, but that will be delivering power to this block here, which will keep this piston extended. So I'm going to need to rework how I've done that, but that's only a minor issue. I can manage with that. And you might have heard when we were going up in the elevator some of the or one of the notes playing, and the reason for that is you'll see that this note block here is currently flush with that block there. And what happens is when we go up the elevator, this redstone line sends power into the repeater, which powers the block, which actually powers the note block. So I'm going to need to move this block, this note block, back to there, for example. So yeah, only minor things to do left on the elevator. Hopefully it won't be as much of a headache as the rest of the elevator's been. But once we've finished that, I'll be able to then start building the rest of the facility. The reason the facility hasn't had that much work done to it recently is because this elevator is actually going to be the core of the facility. I'll be building the rest of the stuff around it. So I kind of need to know how much space I need around or behind the elevator. And I still want to put in a couple of walkways so that when the elevator's finished, it's not just hidden inside the building. We'll be able to come in here and have a look at all the redstone, because it is quite impressive, I think. So yeah, once I've figured out how much space I need for the elevator, we'll then encase it and start building a lot of the other facility, the other parts of the facility. So once this elevator is finished, you should see some rapid growth in Black Aperture. So, other than the elevator, between headaches, I've been working on a couple of little projects over here. The first one was the I don't know what you'd call this, the iron bar down wire, I guess. A lot of you suggested a fix for the down wire. Previously, I had an iron block here, and what happens if we push this button is that it powers that redstone line twice, which is not what we want. We want it to power once, and you guys correctly suggested, whoops, no, that's not glass. You guys correctly suggested that if I put a glass block there, that will fix the issue. So now if we push the button, it only pulses once. You'll see that the repeater pulses twice. I'm not sure why. I mean, the redstone line doesn't pulse twice, but the repeater does. I think it might have something to do with like a zero tick issue with the piston, but that's okay. That the outputs, actually we'll test that really quickly. I'm pretty sure any outputs should only pulse once. So let's just place that piston there. What am I doing? That's not going to power. That should power though. So we power this. Oops. No, that's actually not working. We get a that 0 tick pulse. So I'll have to mess around with that and figure out what the issue is. I'm pretty sure if we just hook this into most other outputs, so like redstone lamps and doors and RS null latches and stuff, the 0 tick issue shouldn't be a problem. But if we want it to power pistons, that will be an issue. So I would like to get that sorted out. Now, although the glass block is a fix for the problem, it's not actually what the problem was with this circuit. I was having a little bit of a look at the circuit, and I realized that this little module down the bottom, I guess you'd call it, is actually a clock. And so the reason it was pulsing twice is because the iron block gave the clock enough time to pulse through twice. So the only way I could really fix this would be to, instead of using a clock down here, figure out some way of powering it that isn't a clock, basically. And also another little adaptation that I came up with is this circuit here, and this is essentially the same thing, except in a 1 block wide and tileable design. So what I mean by tileable is that, as you see, you can place the two circuits directly next to each other, and these torches don't need to be here, directly next to each other, and there's no crosstalk at all. So, for example, if we push this button up here, you'll see that line pulses, and you push this button here, and that line pulses. So, just a cool little circuit that I came up with. I was going to use this for the downward communication of the RS null latches, but there's a couple of issues with the circuit. The first being that I can't seem to find a spot down here to take the current out and use it to power another set of pistons, so to allow the current to keep moving down. And also it's kind of, not hugely bulky, but because this is the longest that we can have the fences, we'd have that iron section repeated many times throughout the circuit, and it would end up looking too cluttered and too bulky. So I've decided not to use this for the elevator, but yeah, I might come up with some sort of a use for this design at some point. Now, the other contraption that you guys submitted a lot of suggestions for was the teleporter here. I got an absolute ton of suggestions on how to fix the issue with the villagers getting stuck on the center block over here. The first suggestion was to use a range of other mobs. People suggested everything from zombies to squids to all kinds of stuff. The issue is that regardless of what type of mob I use, they're still going to run into the same issue of not being able to, not wanting to fall down to the next level and take any damage. A lot of people were assuming that, villagers were too smart and wouldn't drop off because they'd take damage, but something like zombies would because they're stupid, which makes some sort of intuitive sense, but unfortunately the game doesn't work that way. So using zombies or other mobs probably wouldn't work. Squids might work, as I'd be able to hopefully flush them down with water. But the problem is that squids, I believe, are... Why is that open? Squids are like I'm pretty sure 2 blocks wide. I see what the problem is there. Yeah, squids are 2 blocks wide, meaning that when we have the squids in one of the chambers here, their head or their tentacles would be poking out, and it'd make the thing look kind of ugly. So I don't really want to use squids. The other suggestion that people came up with was to use doors. So if I jump into the machine here, people were suggesting knocking out this block and putting a door here. And what that would do is that it'd prompt the villagers to try and get to the door, since they'd see it as a house if I placed a block there. And when they went to try and get to the door, they'd fall down. Now, there's a couple of issues with this solution. The first one being that I'm not 100% sure that the villagers would go for the door at the cost of perhaps taking fall damage. I think the fall damage, or the threat of the fall damage, would override their desire to get to the door. Also, as people pointed out, this solution would only optimize the system at night time, because during the day, although some villagers would want to go for the door, not all of them would. So yeah, unfortunately that would not work. And the final issue is that doors look kind of ugly. I mean, let's be honest, I don't want to have a wooden door just sticking on the side of the elevator. That wouldn't look very nice, unless of course I edited the texture pack to make the doors look nice. But yeah, that might be a little bit too much effort for no reward, unfortunately. Another suggestion that people came up with was the tried and true sign method. So for those of you not aware what I'm talking about, we'd basically get into the machine here and place a sign on this block. And what this used to do was that mobs would actually view the sign as a solid block, so they'd be quite happy to walk onto this block here, but since you can't stand on signs, they'd fall down. Unfortunately, guys, this has been patched in a recent version of Minecraft, and the sign trick no longer works. The reason I still have the signs on my spawning pads in our spawn point lab is just because I like the way it looks. I mean, I don't want to have just plain stone brick slabs in there, or pads I should say. The signs add a nice little bit of white to the design, basically. So that's the only reason I have the signs there. So unfortunately the sign would not work in the design here. Another suggestion that people had was to use minecarts instead of mobs. Now minecarts would probably work because minecarts also have the force field, so they would teleport us. And also, if I used minecarts, I could then put some track on the block here, and then curve it around. The problem is that, well, there's actually a couple of problems with this. The first is that minecarts, as you'll see in the monorail design over here, minecarts do not stack, which means that I would only be able to store 9 minecarts per dispenser, which means I'd only be able to charge the system 9 times before I needed to reload it. And that is not really what I want. With the villager eggs, I don't have any in there at the moment, it seems, but with the villager eggs, I don't need to reload the system that often, which is nice. The minecarts, I would. The other issue being that the minecarts being dispensed onto tracks only works if there's a track in front of them. So if I was to dispense the minecarts in the system as is, it'd just shoot a bunch of the item down onto that diamond block. So unfortunately, minecarts will not work. Now, the final suggestion that people had that was probably the most promising was to use pistons to push the villagers down. So for example, we'd probably put a piston here, and then a piston, not there, probably down, if we get an iron block, so probably down here, so that when you power the system, the villagers would fall here, then this piston would power, push them down to the next level, and then this piston here would power and push them off into the hole here. The problem with this solution, as you know, much of a good solution as it seems, is that say we've got this piston here to push the villagers in this direction. We also want to, if we're going in the teleporting in this direction, we want to push the villagers over this way, which means we'd need a piston there. And as you can see, those 2 pistons kind of get in the way of each other. So unfortunately, that's not gonna work. So as it is, I'm kind of stumped for solutions. I've got a feeling that if I lower this block, the villagers should hopefully fall down and then easily get pushed around this corner. I've got a feeling that the reason they're getting stuck is because I need a diamond block now, just so I don't forget. Is because when they land on this block and then move down to this block here, the villagers on this block, are hesitant to, or that they're resisting trying to move into this hole because they don't want to take fall damage. So they're staying on this block, and because their heads are at this level, the villagers on this part here are bumping into them and can't fall down to this block. So I'm thinking that by removing that block there, all of the villagers will be on the same level, and so the villagers here will be pushing against these villagers and bump them down. I'm not 100% sure if that'll work. I haven't tested it yet. I only actually just came up with that solution. But I'll test it between now and the next episode and let you guys know what I find out. Beyond that, yeah, I'm going to need to do a lot of tinkering with this design to get it to work. However, that's not too much of an issue, because anyone who watches Doc M's World Tour would have heard recently that apparently Jeb and co are planning on removing the force fields around mobs, which would render designs like this completely useless, unfortunately. So I've still got my fingers crossed that they don't go through with that. I mean, there's really no harm in having the force fields on the mobs. It doesn't give us any huge exploit to the game. I don't think it produces that much extra lag, if any at all. Although it would, I guess, produce a little bit because of having to calculate the force fields. But yeah, the lag is not really noticeable, and yeah, as I said, no huge exploit. We don't get a bunch of diamonds because of the force fields, so I don't really see the merit in removing the force fields. So again, fingers crossed, Jeb and co don't remove that. If you'd like to see designs like these teleporters in future worlds like Black Aperture here or in Doc M's World Tour, by all means, guys, add Jeb and all of the coders on Twitter and send them tweets letting them know that you're against having that feature removed. If enough of us voice our opinion, hopefully they won't remove the force fields. Just like with Silk Touch on Ice, a lot of us were requesting to have that added again, and now it's being added again. So never underestimate how much power you guys have to influence Jeb and the other coders. Anyway, that's enough of my rant on the teleporters. Onto this new little creation here. Now, this is quite a nifty little contraption. I'm quite proud of this. This thing is a player proximity detector. A little bit of a tongue twister to say, so I'm going to be calling this the Proxy. And so basically, as the name suggests, what the Proxy does is it detects when a player gets within 16 blocks of the thing. So at the moment, you'll see because of these you'll see by these redstone lamps on the top that the system is off, which causes the minecart to continuously just go around this loop. And unfortunately, it does power it on, but yeah, it's no real big deal, I guess. If you wanted to invert the power, you probably could. But when we turn the system on, you'll see it closes that fence gate and activates the sensor. So the sensor will only activate when we're within 16 blocks of the thing. So if we move past this iron block border, you see the thing turns off completely. We move inside and it detects us and starts sending a signal. So the signal is relatively stable. It's about as stable as I've been able to get it. Occasionally it does turn off, and that's just to do with the sensitivity of the design. The good thing about this design is that if you need this redstone line to stay on constantly whenever you're within 16 blocks, you can actually increase the sensitivity of the proxy by you open up the top here and put in more iron golems. The more iron golems you have in there, the more sensitive the design. At the moment, if we check our entities, I don't know why it's saying 9. There's only 4. Yeah, there's only four iron golems in there at the moment, plus the minecart, which I guess would count as an entity. And so with only 4 iron golems, we do have quite a sensitive little detector. If I wanted to boost the sensitivity, I could add or have maybe 6 or 8 iron golems in there. But you can actually do this with as little as 2 iron golems. The moment you put 2 iron golems in this 2x2 area, they start bumping into each other and they start producing these particles down at their feet, which triggers the particle detector and sends a signal through the bottom section, which is our signal stabilizer, basically. So it takes this pulsing signal and turns it into a solid signal out. And the good thing about this design as well is that if you want a solid signal, you can then take your output from the bottom there, or if you want a pulsing signal, you can take the signal from the top there. So quite a cool little design, I think. Very compact. yeah, if you've seen player detectors similar to this, like for example in Doc M77's World Tour, where he showed his wireless player detecting waterfall door, most designs for this kind of circuit are quite large. So this one is in a, what's it, it's 4 by 4 by, if we include the block that the redstone's on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. So a 4 by 4 by 9 area. So very, very compact considering what it does, and especially considering that to boost the sensitivity, all you need to do is add in more iron golems. I'm also pretty sure that you could increase the sensitivity by adding more layers to the the signal stabilizer, but at the moment it's stable enough for my liking. So if you guys would like a tutorial on this system, by all means let me know in the comments section down below, and I'm more than happy to do one. Yeah, I'm quite happy with this little design, and as you can see, I've added the black Aperture logo on it just because it was looking a little bit plain, and I had this extra area, so I thought, why not? So that's that one done. One other thing that I've been toying around with since the last episode is I said to you guys that I wanted to try and get hold of fireballs that would shoot straight, so we could have a whole heap of wireless redstone signals around the facility using those fireballs. And I had an overwhelming response from you guys. I had at least 10 people send me a message offering to make me a mod. So thank you very much to everyone who offered to help. However, the first person to actually send me a working mod was a fella by the name of Tormium Mods. So thank you very much for the mod, mate. Very simple mod, actually, surprisingly. All you needed to do was drop in one class file into your Minecraft bin. Unfortunately, I was having a little bit of an issue with my bin in that whenever I dropped the class file in and tried to load up Minecraft, it gets stuck on that the updating screen, stuck at about 90% and would not go anywhere. So if anyone has any idea why my Minecraft was doing that, please let me know. The final solution that we had for the mod was he basically sent me his bin with nothing but that one mod, and so I just replaced my bin and it started working. So I'm not quite sure why that worked and just dropping the class file in didn't, but as you can see, we now have perfectly accurate fireballs, which means if I set up a little bit of a demonstration here, what do we want to do? We want some normal pistons, and just line this up. We'll do it this way. So if I put a bud switch in here, of course I can't place. That's the one issue with the upside down half slabs, is that I can't place redstone on them, but not really too much of an issue. I'm sure I'll be able to live with it. So if we have a bud switch like this, for example, and then we put another dispenser, say, on the side like that, we need some fire charges, which are right down the bottom, of course. And so we put those in there, and then have the signal come all the way back. So you'll see if we push this button, sends the signal over, updates the bud switch, which then sends the signal right back. So we can use this to send signals, around corners, and then we can use it in conjunction with something like the vertical wire over there to send the signal up and down, and use that to have some cool wireless redstone running through the facility. So thank you very much to Tormium Mods. I love the mod. It's only a minor thing, so I'm quite happy to use that. If anyone wants the mod, I'll so long as Tormium Mods gives me permission to add the mod to the description, there'll be a link for it in there, so you can just grab the bin and chuck that into your Minecraft folder. If he gives me permission, I'll also just include the class file in case you guys don't run into the same issue that I had and you've got other mods installed that you don't want to overwrite. Now, the final little contraption that I was messing around with between headaches on the elevator were these little things here. And these are, actually this one's broken at the moment, I'll just fix that up nice and quickly. These little things here are quite a little diabolical contraption. I was watching the Minecraft guys do ultra hardcore, and I got to thinking that, if I got my hands on some redstone in a challenge like that, I'd like to try and set up some traps, but I wanted to come up with a very, very cost-effective, simple, quick trap to make that would be very hard to spot. And so this is what I came up with. I've got my the black aperture wall mine Mark 1, since I plan on coming up with some other designs, and the black aperture landmine Mark 1. And so basically what these are just taking advantage of the basically the most compact form of a bud switch you can make, and that's the like powering a piston diagonally, and then you can remove this block and the mine is active. And so basically the idea behind the mines is that obviously you'd have the wall mine inside a wall, and put some sort of a valuable block in front of the mine, or any other sort of thing that updates the piston. When the piston updates, it realizes that it's not receiving any power. It retracts, the sand block will fall down, trigger the wooden pressure plate, which will trigger the, what is currently a redstone lamp, but is just simulating TNT, since I don't really want to blow up my facility testing these things. So, as you see, update it, triggers the thing very nice and quick. And it's very cost effective actually. All you really need is one piece of redstone and one iron ingot for the piston and TNT. That's really all you need. On top of that, just sand and a couple of pressure plates, which are very easy to come by. And so basically the way you want to make this is you place your TNT, place the pressure plate next to it, place a normal piston on top of the TNT facing towards the pressure plate. Then you would have a block diagonal to the piston, and then if you've got a you can either use another pressure plate or you can use a lever, but you power this block here however you want to power it. You update the piston, and then you place your sand on top. So very simple, and then the moment you stop powering this block, that's it. This mine is active and it's live. It'll go off anytime a block updates. But if you realize you've made a mistake or you need to update a block around the piston, very simple to make it safe again. You just send power to this block and you can update blocks around the piston very simply. So basically what I've got here to test these is just a lever on the front. So if you see a red light on top of the block, it means that the piston is active and it will trigger. And if you see no red, you're safe. Very simple. Now the landmine works with a very similar concept, but is slightly less cost effective. You, on top of the requirements for the wall mine, you also need one slime ball. And that's because you need a sticky piston for this piston here. And the idea behind the design is that the sticky piston, when it retracts, will pull the sand block up, but it can't hold on to the sand block, so the sand block will be pulled up and then fall down onto the pressure plate. Now the reason it's not falling down onto the pressure plate at the moment is because you can just place sand on top of a pressure plate and it will stay there, same as with like a torch or something of the like. But when it gets pulled up and then falls down, it'll try and land on top of the pressure plate, which will then break the sand block. So if we make this piston live, or make this mine live I should say, you'll see if we update it, very simple, does the same sort of thing. So these mines are, as I've mentioned, very easy to make, very quick, very simple, and aside from the landmine, which does require that one slime ball, is very cost effective. And now I've been testing the mines out in the desert over here, just to see what kind of damage they can do. Now the craters that we come up to first here, this is just with one TNT block. So with just 5 pieces of gunpowder, you can make this kind of a crater. Now obviously if the player is within this blast radius, that will do some serious damage, if not kill them. The issue is though, they will hear the TNT get triggered, so the blast radius, they'll probably be able to run away before taking the brunt of the damage. So you'll also want to try and include some way of keeping them stuck in this area. So even something as simple as putting up a single block behind them, they'll try and run away and then bump into the block, not realize what's going on, and by the time they realize what's going on, they'll have blown up, basically. So just a nice, simple thing like that can be quite deadly. Then I started experimenting with higher TNT loads. This is about I think about a half load. So as you can see, quite a sizable crater. This thing over here was slightly more, and then over here this is a full load on the system. So, and that includes this crater over here. So as you can see, if you use a full load in the Black Aperture landmine, there's virtually zero chance of survival, especially if you combine it with the block that sort of distracts them. So I'll just show you really quickly how you'd utilize something like the Black Aperture mine. So basically what you want to do is, you dig yourself out a 3x3 area, and I believe from memory you go down 7 blocks. So 1, 2, 3, 4. Interesting. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That water's not going to allow me to test this, unfortunately, so we'll go and do it over here. So as I said, 3x3, down 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. I can hear lava. Interesting. So I'll just quickly clear out this area. Okay, that actually looks wrong. I think it's doesn't need to be quite as deep, but that's okay. So basically what we'll want is you'll want a block, and then so that'll basically be what you're using to detect, or what the block that you're using to update. Then you'll want your sticky piston, you'll want a gap, and then your sand block. So this will be where the sand block is, and then the pressure plate. So yeah, it didn't need to be quite that deep. So I'll just fill that in. Okay, so once you've got that, you just place your pressure plate, and we're going to need sand and TNT. Where is that TNT? There it is. Okay, so we'd replace that with a pressure plate and a sand block on top, and then that's the basic version of the mine right there. So you'd also put your pressure plate down and update the piston. However, as I showed you before, the one piece of TNT isn't going to create very much of a blast radius, so we'll add a little bit of a charge. We'll go up one more layer, why not? Make a little bit of a show of it. Okay, so just like that. Now, all we've got to do now is step on this pressure plate, update that piston, step off the pressure plate, and the mine is now live. But of course, we want to first just fill in and hide our mine. Very simple. So we can step off, and there we go. So as you can see, pretty big bang for your buck, and very easily concealable traps. So hopefully you guys enjoyed that one. I know I did. Had a lot of fun developing that, and I'll probably be developing a whole heap of different versions, so it'll basically be down to personal preference. I'm also thinking of coming up with a roof mounted design as well, so you'll be able to pack these mines in wherever you want. So yeah, hopefully you enjoyed today's episode, guys. That's all we've got time for today. If you did enjoy today's episode, please do show that like button some love. I know it enjoys it, and I do as well. If there's anything in the world that you'd like to see a tutorial on, again, let me know. Aside from the elevator, I don't think I'll be doing a tutorial on that. And if there's any sort of sciencey kind of contraptions that you'd like to see in Black Aperture in the future, by all means let me know, no matter how wacky they are, and if I like the sound of it, we'll add that into the world. So, as I've said, guys, hope you enjoyed today's episode. I've been Static, and I will see you next time.